Welcome to another Milepost of the V-Twin Life. We talk motorcycles powered by those V-Twins, why we enjoy it, what they mean to us, and just why we enjoy the open road. V-Twin Life is brought to you by CrashIncClothing.com, also known as Crash Inc. on the World Wide Web. Man, Brad has sold a lot of stuff. You want to get some merchandise, you want to get parts, you want to upgrade stuff on your bike. He is a dealer for a lot of great companies, so check out CrashIncClothing.com and see what they got for you. Now, we got Wild Ass. You want to add some comfort to your ass? Man, Wild Ass has got you covered. They've got something you like. Use that promo code DWoods. Get yourself free shipping and put that ass in comfort. Can't forget Custom Dynamics, leading the world in LED lighting and LED technology. Man, these got some great stuff. You want to light up your life at nighttime? You want to be seen during the day? Hey, check out Custom Dynamics. Can't forget Lexan. These guys got some great comm units. I just got the new G16s. Man, you want to talk quality? These things are awesome. Loudspeakers, plus they got some air pumps, small ones you keep in your bike. They're ready to go. So check out Lexan. So now, let's get to another Milepost of the V-Twin Life. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday in the V-Twin Life. Tonight we're hitting down Milepost 146 with Chris Lumaghini. Came highly recommended by a good buddy, Mr. Bradley Thomas and Frank Orlando, and be a lot of fun, guys. You know, when you put on a year like you did, it's like Bradley says, dude, he's got some great stories. And matter of fact, he called me even a couple hours ago. We're talking about it. So, no, big good. I love Bradley. He's a good dude. So, hey, thanks for
a good dude for sure.
He is. So, thanks for taking time out on your Sunday and coming to hang out and sharing some adventures and stories, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So it's always fun to talk motorcycles. So,
it is. It's easy to just get so sidetracked.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, actually, what I love, this would be the fun part. So, I know we talked about it, earlier last week, but when did motorcycles come into life? Because, you're talking, it's like, somewhat, I don't want to say new, but it hasn't been super long, I guess one could say.
Yeah, correct. So, I'll kind of start from the very beginning. So I'm originally from Boston. I've always grown up around motorcycles, but living just outside of the city, I guess it just never really intrigued me to want to learn to ride a bike. My dad always had a bike, and I would ride with him some, but there's just so much traffic there. I never, it never crossed my mind to really learn. So, I didn't. And, so fast forward, let's see, probably 35 years, and, so my father got sick with cancer, and right before he passed away, a couple weeks before he passed away, I was like, hey, Dad, nobody rides. Like, we really need to sell your bike, all of these things. And I'm going to try not to get choked up. But he was like, no, I'm going to send my bike to you. I know you really want to learn. You got some great roads down where you are, and in good weather, you can ride year round. I'm going to send the bike to you, and I know you're going to love it. So, I definitely didn't want to let him down, especially at that point, so I agreed to take it, even though I was a little bit hesitant, or I guess, looking back, it was probably a little bit more fear, when you never ride a motorcycle, and then you have this big ultra classic coming your way. That's 1,000-pound beast, it's a little bit scary. So I ended up calling one of my buddies from home and was like, hey, my dad's going to send me my bike. I need to find a little bike to learn on. So we went and found a Honda 750, and I rode that for a few months and quickly transitioned. So that was in 2018 is when I rode my first motorcycle, and really towards the end of 2018. So this year, we'll be 7 years in roughly. So I've been blessed that I've been able to accomplish a lot in a short period of time.
Man, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, though.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It definitely is not a easy thing to go through on a personal level, but it's even harder to just watch someone go through it. He was the first person that I've ever known that I was close with that had cancer. So I didn't really know what to expect on the later part of things, because he had an incurable cancer, and by the time we found it, it had already spread all over him. So there was no surgery, but treatment kept him alive. An extra year from what we had thought. So we were able to spend a lot of time together, and I'm blessed that I was able to do that. So
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, with technology these days is really come when it comes to some of that stuff. But yeah, I don't want to dwell on that. But so what really kind of sparked it that really got you going to where you were going more.
yeah, so the first couple of years, I was just a regular rider. I'd ride a couple 100 miles here and there, and yeah, that was more than most of my friends. So I was like, man, I'm hammering some miles, and I was on my way home from Daytona, and this is kind of funny because it used to take me 2 days to get from Jackson, Mississippi to Daytona when I'd go down a bike week, and on my way home one year, I bumped into this guy, and man, he was just like this crazy dude. Um, I thought he was on something, to be honest with you. Like he was so jumping all over the place and all of this, and we were talking. Oh, I'm doing a coast to coast. I'm doing an iron butt ride, and I had no idea what that was at that point. And he was like, "Well, look, I'll leave you with this one little tip. This type of riding isn't for everybody, but there's nothing like seeing a sunrise on one side of the country and seeing the sunset on the other side of the country the next day." And that just stuck with me, and I just started kind of chasing those words, and sure enough, as soon as I did my first iron, but I couldn't get enough of it. It's just that style of riding it was for me. So, um, I got into it slowly, a couple of years of, um, just some saddle sore 1000s and things like that, or some multi-day rides. And then the past 2 years is when I really stepped in, of course, last year being the biggest year that I rode the 100,000 miles. So it's been a blast, and all that credit goes to Bradley Thomas. So Bradley Thomas is the person that I met, and what's really wild about this story is we didn't keep in touch. We did not exchange information or anything like that. It's just a random meeting at a gas station, two guys on motorcycles, just talking it up for a minute, and sure enough, we're at the rendezvous in Eagles Nest, and my buddy that was with me coming from Daytona was like, "Hey, dude, you need to come back outside. Like, you're not gonna believe who's sitting in front of me." And sure enough, it was Bradley. So, we definitely felt that God put us both in the same place, for a reason. So we've become really close friends.
So, what got you to go to Eagles Nest for the rendezvous? Just how'd you end up getting down there?
So I used to hang out with this guy named Joe Lacey, who was a spirit rider that also rode the Hoka Hey. So although I wasn't a rider at the time that he participated, it just intrigued. So that always intrigued me, and so I followed along online and things like that as a spectator. So once I felt I really wanted to ride it in 22, but I just didn't think I was quite there yet. Um, so I skipped 22 and decided to go 24. So I went to the rendezvous, of course, to try to meet some people. And the first person I truly met was Wrong Way, that like really started talking to me, Wrong Way and then Shell. So two great riders with a lot of experience, filling me in on some things. So they were definitely instrumental in building my craft.
Shell's awesome. My wife and I, we, this year after the Hoka, Shell, and Wrongway, both they worked their way here after that, and we're here for a few days. And Shell was here for, shoot, almost a week last summer when she came up for Monster Over Mountains, and we've got to know Shell really well. And Shell's awesome. She just her sense of humor is one of a kind.
For sure. For sure. She keeps me laughing. Every day
Oh
she puts something on Facebook, and I'm like, this chick is just something else.
yeah, yeah. And Wrongway, he's just a free spirit that has one heck of a gift of gab, and you get that guy talking. Holy cow! You better have some time on your hands.
Yeah, man, he's got a heart of gold. He's and really the whole group, the whole community is everybody's great. I don't think there's really anybody that I'm like, man, that guy's such a dick. Like it's just not how any of us really are. And that's what I love about it so much is, we can all be competitive and compete in different things, whether it be Alder, Tourbon, or RTE, whatever it is, but then we still acknowledge each other for awesome stuff we were able to complete it in the process, and um, a lot of things just aren't like that anymore. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of good sportsmanship out there anymore. It's just changed. So, um, it's been an amazing ride. So,
You, yeah, you made a good point. In the way of like you're saying with sportsmanship, because it is. I mean, everybody can be competing for the same event, but they're also everybody is supporting everybody.
correct.
Going to help you out with pointers or you see some sort of setup or something they're running, and all you got to do is ask any of them, and they'll go into detail about it, explain everything, how it works, and no, it is. It's an amazing family. It's the best way I can think to put it is an extended family. I mean, everybody is great. They're great mentors and people to look up to and get advice from, and the friendships. It's like we're talking. I mean, I say it every time, but it's true. That to me, that's the biggest reward I get of this is getting to meet people, doing these mileposts, but the friendship that I get to have with everybody, even when it's over, you still the text messages, messenger and phone calls, and whether you're on one side of the country or the other,
Yeah,
it's just it's the biggest and most awesome reward of doing this
for
is getting to
sure.
know people and yeah, that the community that we all have.
Yeah, I have literally less than five friends where I live. All my friends are spread out all over the place, and they're people I would have never met if I didn't ride motorcycles. So, um, it's I'm definitely thankful and blessed that I've been able to be a part of this group.
So how'd you get into finding mile monsters when you got into riding for them? How did you stumble upon that?
So when I decided to do the Hoka Hey and all that, I started just no, let me back up. So after I'd met Bradley, he had told me like, hey, go check out these boards on Facebook or whatever. So that's where I had gone, and um, you know, Hop was about to do his 100K in 100 days.
Yeah,
So
Hop just tuned in.
started following Mile Monsters then. And like I said, I did the Monster 1000. I was actually a fill in for someone that couldn't do it. So I was super pumped to do that. And, it slowly just kind of picked up from there, and, really 24 was my big year where anything I could do, I tried to do or be a part of. I was really blessed that all the big events, for the most part, I think I was there. I got to see all the heroes last year, which was really cool. Um, so it was really
So it,
just through Facebook, following groups, people sharing posts
mhm.
or whatnot, and then I started following Riot. Um, and, so that's how I really started to get involved.
And then last year, you became, a part of another, I guess you can say, a smaller community within the motorcycle realm of doing 100,000 miles in 1 year. Did you set out for 24 as having that plan or
So
just kind of work into it?
I was originally gonna do March to March, just because March is my birthday month. So I knew I was gonna pick up my ride. That's when I typically pick up my ride, and so I was like, well, let's do it here. And then the more I got thinking about it, and I had talked to Riot about it a few times, and I'm like, man, I really just want to do this in 1 year. So I just have 1 year date on my certificate when it's said and done. So that's when I really started to kick it up, because January and February, I want to say, I got it right here in front of me. I just got to get it to open. Uh, I don't know. It's not wanting to open. It's probably my service. But I want to say between the 2 months, I had less than 5,000 miles, so it wasn't until March that I kicked it up and I rode 18,000 miles in March. Um,
Jesus.
that was, we were in the middle of building a house. So my wife was like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, look, I don't want you to spend any money for me. I just want to go ride my bike. And she was like, all right, we'll go out as much as you want. So I went out and, rode as much as I could. And then that's when I decided, I really want to do this in 1 year. So I kicked it up for pretty much the remainder of the year. Um, March and December being my two biggest months. March was 18, and then I did 16 and some change in December.
That's kind of a cold month to think about it too. That's a lot of miles for
Yeah,
December, period.
I definitely could have done more. So June, I didn't ride very much. It was like 6,000 miles. I mean, it's still a lot of miles. Don't get me wrong. It's more than, unfortunately, a lot of people ride in a year, but for what I was riding at that point, 6,000 miles was kind of light. But I really wanted to, me and my wife went away. And then before the Hoka Hey, my kids wanted to go to Disney. So I was like, all right, well, let's go to Disney and do this before I leave. Just you hear so many stories, and I definitely got in my head about the Hoka Hey way too much, and really scared myself. So like me going to Disney, where I was like, I don't want to not. If something ever happens to me, like I want my son to remember me taking him to Toy Story Land. And all these things because he was asking me like every day, and but then once I started the Hoka Hey and it all started, it just everything fell into place. It's if you're looking to do a ride like that, you already ride like that. To some extent. You know what I mean? Like you're
Good
already
point.
prepared. You don't join something like that and be completely clueless about since riding. You know what I mean? So it's more all the fear and anticipation was all self driven. You know what I mean? I created more stress on myself than I needed to, but it was just so many unknowns. Um, but yeah, once it started, all that went away, and um, things were good. So I was blessed to cross the finish line. I didn't have any major issues with the bike or anything like that. On the way home, I cracked a rim, so that kind of sucked. I ended up flying. I ended up flying home. Fortunately, I was just outside of Whitehorse when it had happened, and really when we were in Homer, I kept losing air pressure. And I just thought it was weather related. So we think I already had a crack in my front rim at the time, but then right outside of Whitehorse, I smoked a pothole and it just blew the rim. It put a T in the rim, and it was
Jesus.
going to take 10 to 12 days for them to get me a rim. So I was like, look, I can't sit in a hotel room for 10, 12 days, with no vehicle or anything like that. So I was like, um, I'm gonna just fly home. And he's like, well, hey, if you're gonna fly home, like, why don't you just bring a rim back with you? I was like, I can do that. He's like, dude, it will save you a ton of money. So I literally called my dealer. I was like, hey, get me my rim. He got it in a couple of days. I flew home for 2 weeks. I bought a stroller bag and just put the rim in the box with the rim in it inside a stroller bag and just checked it. So I got off the plane, picked my rim up, went to the shop, and then be back on the road in a couple hours. So it was pretty awesome.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Fortunately, I was where I was because if it was a couple hours earlier, I was like, I want to say maybe Coal River at that point. So like that's in the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing around. So it's like if you have an issue there, like you're screwed. Like I couldn't imagine unless someone picks you up off the side of the road. Like I don't even know how long it would take to get a truck to tow you out. Um,
Damn.
so fortunately, I was where I was, and I just had it towed to a Yamaha dealer, and they got me fixed up. Fortunately, well, not fortunately, but that's the same place that Iceman went to when he had to get his tire replaced up in Canada. So he's the one that told me to go check them out. So they were great help.
It's nice to have dealers like that that will I don't know you want to say go the extra mile, but even though you're not their brand, they service, but they'll take in and get you taken care of.
Yeah, correct. Um, And like I said, they could have got me the rim, but it was just would have taken too long. And um, my thinking was, look, if I spend 10 days in a hotel room, I'm not riding for these 10 days, and that's another 10 days away from my house, which is just going to put more stress on my wife. So I'd rather fly home for a couple of weeks and then back. You know,
Makes
um,
sense.
it's just a lot. It's work, it's everything else too. So
Leave the financial
it
side
just
of it, the cost of staying 10 days in a
yeah,
hotel,
yeah, correct. The
12
cost of
days.
staying. I mean, the flight wasn't cheap by any means. So I mean, but Whitehorse is a pretty expensive town hotel wise, and I'm sure there was probably cheaper hotels, but um, I probably would have spent about the same in hotels that I spent for my flight home. So I was just like, let's just fly home and because
Sleep in your own bed.
I was already away, so I had been away for 3 weeks for the Hoka Hey, and then my wife met me in Alaska, so we stayed in Alaska for a week. So I've been gone away from my kids for a month. So another 10 days, I was like, yeah, let's just fly home and spend some time with them, and then I can come back. So, which was great because then I got to rest up, and I came down, met Frankie at his house, and then went to Bradley's. He took me over to Glacier and went down through the redwoods, and so I screwed off for a while on the way home, which was nice.
Well, yeah, when you're on your quest, but yeah, it is nice, get out and see some of those parts of the country because it is beautiful. I haven't gone through the redwoods, but been up around, parts of Glacier and seen some of the area. Haven't gone through it, but it's on my list. But I love Montana. That, central Montana, and it is freaking beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many beautiful areas this country has to offer, and really a lot of the places I would never go if I didn't ride a motorcycle. To be honest with you, like I wouldn't, I would never. You kind of hear like the main places to go, and that's what you do. But there's so many things just off the beaten path that you just don't even realize.
Exactly.
So like a lot of my traveling that I do, I don't plan a whole lot. I may pick a couple POIs or something or a couple roads that I want to go to. But other than that, everything's just up in the air. So I'm just constantly looking and seeing what's around me, if it's worth stopping or do I want to keep going or whatnot. So um, with technology, it definitely makes it a lot easier to find things, but had I not be on a motorcycle, I wouldn't ever look at POIs to stop at, to be honest with you. I'd go to a national park or something like that, but um, so many other cool places to go.
And some of the is a fun aspect is just pick a destination somewhere you want to see, and sure it could be a day's trip, but take the roundabout way. Take 3-4 days to get there. Just go see place zigzag, go wherever, and then work your way there.
Yeah, correct. Correct. Um, I like to ride pretty much all day. So I like to get up early and I ride into the night. So typically I'm on the bike at least 18 hours is what that's kind of my happy spot that I want to be in, unless I'm doing like a BBG or something like that. Then I'm going to be up around 20 to 21 hours. Unless I'm, straight interstate and can haul ass the whole time. Um, I might be able to shave a little bit of time off, but it, typically it's sleep for a few hours, get some food, and then just repeat and ride all day again. So you can you don't realize how small the country really is until you cross it a few times in a few days.
Yeah. Or just how fast, like, when I went down to Turbo's for his birthday a couple years ago, and I wasn't gonna fear because we were taking a stop in Sutherland, Oregon. We're meeting up with Andrew Tooley, and she had a friend there. It's like we were gonna crash there for a couple hours. I'm like, oh, dude, if we're gonna stay there for 4 or 5 hours, so there's no way we'll be able to get a saddle sore in. So it's like I'm not gonna pull receipts. And sure as hell, we get down to California. It's like even with the stop because we're on the interstate. Dude, I still would have had it in like 16 hours or some shit. I'm like, fuck, I should have, pulled the receipts, but oh
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
It's amazing how
So
much, the interstates, boy, you can lay down some miles, but man, it can be boring.
it can be for sure, and like I was saying before, it's not ideal riding to me, but I mean, if that's what I got to ride, and that's what I got to ride,
Yeah.
you know. But typically I'm shooting interstate to get where I'm trying to go, you know, initially, and then from there I'll start hitting 2 lanes. But you know, I do typically, you know, when I was doing my coast to coast 100, like I was so bored on I-10, like uh, 10 and 20 are the two interstates that I'm on a lot. 10, 20, and 55 are really the three interstates that I travel a lot. And man, it's just so boring. The same roads all the time, and it's just straight for the most part on 10. So like I would just jump off for an hour or two and then get back on at some point. You know, as long as I was going west at that point, I didn't care. I just needed to see something other than pavement, you know, all around me.
I think that's like, was it 80 through Wyoming? Oh my God, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, Southern Oregon, Northern California, and I-5, that is still
I
there's some
five was
beautiful
really
country
nice.
through
Yeah.
there.
You know, I
That's
haven't done
it.
a lot of riding up in Oregon, so it was it was great that Bradley was with me on my first trip up, and then at the end of the year when I had the memory maker, I knew right when Iceman gave it to me where I was taking it. So I knew, and right when that was passed to me, I was like, man, this is good. I need to get this to Loco, you know, because don't get me wrong, riding 100,000 miles is hard, and I never thought it was going to end. Like December sucked so bad. I was, you know, a couple thousand miles away, and I just never thought I was gonna cross it. Like it just felt like everything was taking so long. But um, to really ride your motorcycle every single day because of you know, regardless of weather, is unbelievable. Like that's, to me, that's so much harder than what I did. So I have a ton of respect for him, and now the two ladies that are out there doing it, you know, Rolo and Star, you know, they're out there
Dude,
killing. It's, you know,
it's a
Star's no
hell of a
joke. Like
commitment.
it's snowing, there's ice, you know, there are families out there straight breaking up ice on the driveway so she can get out. Like, man, it's unbelievable. So it's been nice to take this little break to start the year off, and I really get to sit back and kind of focus on what people are doing, you know, because this, again, you know, Iceman's doing 100K and he's been out there killing it. You know, he I think it's his first time ever winning a month in Alder. I could be wrong. He might have won one last year, and I don't remember,
Yeah,
but
I don't remember if he has
I
or not.
I think that was his first. So um, you know, I'm pumped for him, and he's out there doing it. So you know, because that's one of the things I told him was, man, start early and get as much in as you can, because towards the end of the year, you're just going to get tired. And you know, like I had to start like challenging myself even more. I would get bored too easy at the end, you know. So
Well, it's
um,
got to be a mental battle. I mean, well, mental and physical, really. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Really
I mean,
push yourself.
it's definitely it's definitely difficult, you know, especially being married with kids and young kids too at that. You know, my oldest is 14, but it's 14 and then it jumps to 8, 7, and 5. So, you know, she had her hands full. She definitely supported what I was doing, but definitely was ready for me to be done.
Hmm.
The last few months were definitely very difficult on her, and more so than I ever realized, to be honest with you. Now that it's over and I look back and we've talked about some things, like she really needed me there and I wasn't. You know, I was so focused on what I was doing, so I do feel guilty about that a little bit. But uh, you know, I had a goal, and once kind of I set a goal for myself, or commit to something, it's I'm gonna do it. So now that's my newest struggle that I need to try to figure out as I continue riding the way I've been riding, and that's balance. You know, how do I, you know, ride the way I want to ride, and split up my time properly to give my family what they need, and then dedicate enough to my work. So um,
Valid point. You got a very good point. It's like, a minute ago we were talking about, interstates. Frank commented, Neil Perth calls interstates mileage disposal units in his books. I'm not
yeah.
sure who the author is, but I like it. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, yeah, you're definitely trying to have a balance in your life, especially when you have young kids and a family, and trying to put forth and commit to what you're trying to get done is, yeah. My hat's off to you on that one.
Yeah, so that was probably the most difficult thing that I had to face during it. But things are better now, and we'll get through it, and everything will work out the way it should.
Don't mind me, I'm just getting some wood.
No, you're good.
Yeah. I can feel the shop starting to cool off. It's a little chilly outside, and when the stove gets empty, it cools off inside here quick.
Understood. Understood.
Like you realize when I stop sweating, shit, fire's almost empty.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm set
Understood.
up pretty close to it, so
Yeah, we
yeah. When
don't
you
we don't
came,
get. What'd you say? Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
It happens to me all the time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk and tell a story and say one thing, and then it's like I got 6 other things going through my head at the same time. I'm like, where am I going with this now? So I understand the feeling, but yeah, towards the end of the year, I really had to start like challenging myself and giving myself some big goals, and a ride that I really wanted to complete that I had struggled with in the past was a BBG trifecta. So my final ride of the year, I actually hit it, which anyone that doesn't know, that's 3 BBGs in a row in under 72 hours. So 1,500 miles a day in 3 days. So I rode 4,575 miles, and then I won the last ride of the year, Ride to Eat, longest ride into that event. So I was pretty stoked
Jesus.
that finally happened. That was it was tough. I don't know if I'll ever try to really do it again. I've considered maybe I should go for the Quattro, and we'll see. But man, I literally um, I'll have to think about my route and how I did it. My route was not really impressive whatsoever. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, what I was wanting to do. So I was down in southern Texas, and then I kicked back up to San Antonio, and then I started heading back east. But then there was a big storm, and I was like, well, there's no need for me to ride through that. So I don't want to be in rain for 2 days. So I started drawing them in Texas, and then I was like, well, let's go back home for a day. So rode back home, ate dinner with my family, and went back to Florida at that point, and finished in Stockton, Alabama. So I was pretty stoked that I was able to finally accomplish that, 'cause I had failed 2 times prior. So it's definitely not a easy challenge to try to ride. I don't recommend it for anybody that's never done a BBG before.
Well, even just a BBG in itself is a challenge. I mean, I haven't got mine. I got a couple routes planned. I'd like to knock it out in the summer. I mean, I got standard bun burner, the 1500 and under. I've done like 32. I've done one
Yeah.
31. I think 33. But I'd like to get the silver, do the 30. But I want to get the gold and have all three of them and say, "Yep, I got it. I
Yeah,
did it."
I don't care who you are as a rider. A BBG is hard. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
about it. I mean, that anyone could really um, not agree with. I would say, it's hard. I mean, 1,500 miles on a motorcycle in a day, stopping for gas, food. For the most part, when I'm doing a ride like that, I don't really eat. I have beef jerky and some snacks and protein that I carry with me, and things like that. And I'll eat when I'm done. But when I did the trifecta, I did have to stop and eat, so that killed a little bit of time and things like that. So definitely, if I do it again, if I try to go for 4 in a row, then I definitely need to have a better route planned. It would have been so much easier for me doing the trifecta had I stayed west and never kicked back east. Just because speed limits stay higher, uh, pretty much everywhere west of Texas till you get pretty much to California, and then it slows down to 60 miles an hour everywhere, it feels like. But not that we follow the speed limits that much anyways, but
Right.
it's
Within reason.
it's a little easier to add 5 miles an hour on 85 and cruise at 90, you know what I mean? As you add 10
Yeah.
miles an hour and you're only at 70, so it's like ideally I like to cruise around in between 85 and 90. So that's kind of my my zone I like to be in. Obviously different terrains and things like that is going to change that a little bit. Um,
Yeah. It's like Frank said also, you throw in having a stock fuel tank and with doing the BBG adds some difficulty because you're stopping more. And got Hopper says BBG is the toughest ride out there. Go for Hell Week.
no, I know. Trust me. I have a ton of respect for anybody that's done it. It's definitely not easy. And that's why I laugh, because you see it all the time on Facebook, like we were talking earlier, like people are like, oh, I don't know why you do that, so boring. And then people are like, oh, I do, like you were saying, like, oh, I can do that, no problem. And, I've done it before. But yeah, I never submitted anything on it, like you were talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you just see it so much. It's like, I don't even understand like why some of these people are in these groups. Like, if you're just going to, you just here to just start shit pretty much. Like, if you don't agree with the style of riding, then just move on. I don't
Yeah.
care how you
Internet
ride.
trolls and keyboard warriors.
Yeah, it's a joke, man. So, um, we'll see what the future holds with the BBG Quest. So this year, I'm going to focus a lot more on rallies. So, um, you know, riding in Heart of Texas, and then the IBR. Um, I'm pretty excited for those. So that's gonna be kind of my main focus this year, are those two
I
events.
see you're down in Mississippi, correct?
I'm in Mississippi, correct? Yeah,
So
Central
how far
Mississippi.
does it take you to get to Texas? Like a day?
No, so it depends where I go. Like Dallas is 6 hours away.
Oh, okay.
So like
Just trying to
when I
think on a
go,
map more where it is at.
yeah, when I go over to Smarty and get my suspension worked on, like I leave at 3 in the morning and I'm to him 9 o'clock or so. So it's not a bad ride. And then Houston's about 8 hours. So
Okay.
um, it's not too bad. Now getting across Texas, yeah, it's a day. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a whole nother world.
See, my house straight through to San Antonio is 34 hours.
Wow.
Done that in a car with me and Frankie and Bradley.
Yeah, you
And
did.
went
I
down
was
for the
gonna say
goat
that you did
store.
with Bradley and Frank for the goat
Yeah.
store for the movie. You know.
That was a fun cannonball run. Holy cow.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure those two guys are great. It's been amazing getting to know them. Frankie, I really didn't know well until really right before the Hoka Hey. Monster 1K is when I really met him and we started talking, and then we rode together for a couple of days in the Hoka Hey, and we just hit it off. And man, that guy is he's a special one for sure. He's
Frankie's
a beast of
awesome.
a rider. I mean, the dude rides
Yeah.
50, 60,000 miles every single year. Like, there's no, and like, it's not like he's out waiting on sunny days. Like, this dude's up at 5 in the morning before work, and it's like 20 degrees outside, and
Yeah.
he's out there
I've
riding his
seen those
bike.
pictures.
I'm like, oh man, like, and he does it almost every day. It's super impressive, and he's been the champ for Monster Miles yet again this year. So congratulations to him.
I remember the first year we started Monsters Over Mountains. I think it was Brad Columbus and oh Milkweed. A couple of guys made the joke, we get old, we want to be like Frank. That became the ongoing thing. Man, when I get older, I want to be like Frank and just ride all the time.
Yeah,
And it's
and
amazing. The guy still works full time, puts in a lot of hours of work and it
he
still
does.
puts in a
He
tremendous
does.
hours on the
Yeah, he's
bike. And then, his quest for, mile monsters and stuff, all the stuff he gets from the boys, and it's amazing.
yeah, he's got a heart of gold for sure. He's a great person, and I'm glad we became friends. And so when I came back from Alaska, I stopped to see him. I was only with him for a short period of time, but we got to ride for a minute, and then I went on. He had something planned. I was coming that way, and I wasn't sure if I was going to even be able to hit his area. So I was like, I don't want to say anything and then not be able to make it. So
Yeah.
I reached out the morning of, and I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I can get over to you in time. You're gonna be around. And he was like, yeah, just get here before X. I forget what it was 4 o'clock
Do you
or
remember
something.
where you came across the border from Canada at?
I forget off the top of my head.
Was that by Blaine?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um,
No, I'm just curious. That's all.
yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries. I was just gonna give you shit because you're probably closer to my house. No, I was kidding.
I may have been. I may have been.
uh, Sumas. That's what Frank said.
Yeah, he knows because I had. It was the same place he had crossed, I think. So, um, yeah, I'm
Yeah, it's one
terrible
of the big
about like
crossings.
remembering cities and places and things like that. I have to look back all the time and look. I'm using my primary phone, so that's where all my pictures are. I got another phone here, but it didn't have them on it. I was going to search it to see if I could find where it was, but
What's
um,
crazy? You come across the border up there. They got the. I've been up there a few times at the Peace Arch for 9/11 memorial, and so you're standing in this big park, but you look to the north as the border for Canada. You look behind you, and there's the checkpoint in the border for Washington. It's like you're in this little no man's land park in
yeah.
between both borders. It's like it's kind of a weird feeling. You look up there and like Canada's there, United States is back fucking behind me at the border. This is a weird feeling.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Canada. That was the first time I got to ride in Canada. So I really enjoyed it. You know, we had got well, originally I think we were supposed to go up through the ice fields, but we got detoured and they sent us over into Alberta. And man, Alberta was so beautiful. I look forward to going back there and really getting to explore a little bit more.
I'd like to get up and ride around like Banff National Park in that area up in Alberta.
Yeah.
It's
So that's
seen so
really
many
where
pictures and
it
friends.
was amazing. Yeah, all those pitches. So like all my good pitches during the Hoka Hey of me on the bike, that was Frankie that was taking those pitches. You know, he's amazing. Like I said, it's just wild
you,
because like we
yeah.
were on some roads that we were on one road. It was like a 14% grade. And it's just straight switchbacks. One after another for I don't know, not very long. Let's just say 5-6 miles, but it, it was a pretty long time. This dude's one handing it, taking pictures of me, like in the lane next to me. I'm like, dude, like
Oh yeah.
he's a very graceful rider, I guess is the right words for it. Just he is
Yep.
truly a natural and um,
I think he rides
he's
more one handed with the group because he's taking pictures and we've had some like that. I mean the old spiral highway over in Idaho. Same thing, these tight switchbacks and there's Frank in the other lane on corners leaning way over his bike, getting pictures and it's like, holy Jesus.
I can barely hold my phone in my hand without dropping it while
Yeah,
I'm
me
riding.
too.
Than be able to take pictures. And when I do take pictures, half of them are horrible. Like I'm sure he gets some rejects too, but it's like every picture he shows me is awesome. I'm like, dude, how the hell do you do that? Like you just squeezing two buttons on the side of your phone. Like, I do that and like my camera's off to the side, didn't even shoot what I was trying to shoot.
Oh, we had one. I remember one gas stop. Frank was really quick. It's like I had to go in and take a pee and come back out. I was like, "Sorry, Frank. Oh, no problem. I'm just editing photos and I'm uploading right now. Put them on Facebook." And
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
gas pump, he's doing editing stuff, and like, holy crap!
Yeah, he's awesome. And like I said, really everybody's awesome. Like in the whole community. But then, Mile Monster is just a whole nother level for me. And that group is very special. It's
True.
something that's very important to me. And I love the work we do. And I'm glad I get to be a part of it.
And I think for me, it even got even more personal. Even like you said, when you got to meet all the heroes, and same for with my wife. Now we got to meet them all when we were over in Sturgis for the end of the was that the Monster K or the
Yeah.
Monster 100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monster 100. Yeah.
And when you get to meet them all, and it makes it that much more personal. You spend time with them, and the interactions, and it just adds more to it for me. The same with my wife; she's a great supporter and helps. When it comes to putting on our run we do over here, and just everything with it, and went for both of us. We got to meet them. It just changes it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, I was up at Riots for the corn maze. So Little Jackson was there, so I got to meet him. So that was really cool since he's one of the newer heroes. Um, but I was able to see all of them this year with the 1K in Lebanon. and then that ride there. And then I got to ride some on the Goat Tour. It's actually, I ended up tearing up one of my bikes the night before I was meeting them that next morning. Um, we thought I had blown the motor. It ended up not being as bad as it was, but I knew I wasn't going to have that bike back in time for the Hoka Hey because we were like at that point 3 weeks out. So I ended up buying another bike up at Riots, and um, so I had to break that in. So I kind of jumped on and off, a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, get those break-in miles before you really lay down some miles.
Yeah, so I mean, my break-ins pretty much look. I follow the rules for about 50 miles, and then it's like, all right, it's time to ride. That's about all I give it. And but as far as services go, I have a maintenance plan, so it's like I try to bring it in on time when I can. So that was an easy one. So I cut off in Ohio, I want to say, and shot up I went up to Detroit and had it serviced there at one of the in-network dealers. So the group that uh, I know me and Riot are in it, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Brandy just bought her bike at Patriot. So if she has a service plan, she's part of it. But they have 13 or 14 dealers across the country. So
Oh, nice.
that's why I went with them, just because it's so much easier when I'm out on the road. Just go in and service the bike, and how their program works. It's VIP, so you pull in and your bike's the next bike on the rack. So it's it's pretty nice. I try to call ahead if I can, and I'll try to do it in the morning so I can ride for a few hours, and then I'll put it in and take a break for a couple hours, and then should be back on the road pretty quick.
Yeah. So you got the prepaid maintenance plan?
Yeah, so I have the prepaid maintenance plan, and then I have tires for life. I do still like, now that I'm back in Mississippi, if my bike needs service, like I just take it to my dealer. My dealers, a lot of people actually hate my dealer, to be honest with you, because they're just older guys, and it is what it is. Like they don't give a shit, But um, I work with them a lot, and I've done a lot of business with them. That they take really good care of me. So, um, I think it's more people just aren't used to it. Like they're not a fancy Harley shop. Like they're not out to try to sell you T-shirts and all of this other stuff. It's not what they do. So they work on motorcycles, and um, so I'll go to them, but they charge me $200 to service my bike. So like, I don't feel bad. Like if I was at a dealer where they're going to charge me $500 to service it, then I would make sure I always brought it to a in dealer network. So it's covered with that. Uh,
Yeah.
but by the time I go to Texas and have it done, I'll burn a day. Texas is the closest dealer in network to me. So I just had them do a service here locally for me the other day. So, um,
Yeah,
so I
gets it
still
done.
still pay for it. It's convenient, but I'll I have to do what's best for me. Time is money. To me. So
Yeah.
if I waste too much time trying to service my bike, it's just not even worth it. I end up costing myself more money and time. So um, ideally, I want to do it in the middle of a ride. Uh, if it's a big ride, shorter rides, obviously, I want to do it either pre or post. But my bigger rides now, I can just do it in the middle of them. So it's definitely nice.
Yeah, I can see that. Big long multi-day stuff. Just try to swing around the middle, find one somewhere, and say, "Cool, just pass through here, get it done, and get back on
Yeah,
it."
and I typically, realistically, I service my bike about every 7,500 miles, give or take. Sometimes I'm spot on 5,000, but typically I'm over it. But um, so it's not too bad. It's not in too much. And the new bike, the 24, a lot of people have had problems with them, and man, I love my 24. It's a great bike, and I've had zero issues other than my horn, that uh, I don't use very often anyway. So uh, it's gone out twice for whatever reason, and I think they just said it's the design and the way it points. Like water gets up in it, and it just kills it
Fries it.
somehow. and because it's down now, it's right down by your left foot, down by the shifter. So it's like,
Oh, it's gonna get
uh,
all the shit from the road up
yeah,
in
so
it and just get
everything just
trashed.
pops right up in it, and now there's no more lowers on the bike. So, um, I've always had a limited, so I always had lowers, and so it definitely took a minute to get used to not having them anymore. In the summer months, I love it. In the winter months is definitely where it's like, man, I kind of wish I had some lowers right now to block some of this wind on the legs.
I had the soft lowers, which I do like in the fall. Like I say, if it's, a brisk day, 40s, 50s going out and, throw them on in the morning time. It does. It keeps a lot of that wind off your feet and your legs and lower legs. But yeah, once it gets warm, it's like then what I like with the soft lowers, I mean, I can take them off in
You can
10
take them
seconds
on and
and
off.
put them on in like 30 seconds. It's really quick and easy. And I got the Kimi Motos. They've held up great. I'm very impressed with them. And, it's just plus they roll up small. I can, throw them in a little pocket, the tour pack or saddlebag or whatever, and they don't take up room. But especially even in rain, man, they do well. And it is a nice little added piece to have for sure.
But like I said, now not having them, and now that I'm used to it, I love it now. It's really nice, especially because, like I said, being in the South, that's where I do a lot of my riding. Um, it gets hot, and having that breeze now go up my legs that I didn't have before definitely keeps me a lot cooler than I have been in the past. So, um,
Yeah, it that can be nice and sometimes not having them. Yeah, especially for you having the hard ones where they don't just come on and off.
yeah, correct. So,
Well, did yours have little vent doors on them? I mean, I don't know if how much you
yeah, I
get
mean they
through them. I
have
mean, I
vents.
haven't
They
ridden with
they don't
them.
work that good. It's not the
Yeah.
same. It's definitely not the
Oh, I
same
bet.
as like you would get some air in through the vents, and but like now it's just all of it's hitting you, so it's nice.
Yeah. Well, that and you think it's got to keep the engine a little bit warmer. I mean, cooler also being, you're going to get more air on it. It's going to cool it down more. 'Cause I noticed it with mine, especially in the summertime. I had them on when we were going to Sturgis a couple years ago and it started getting really hot and fuck, the motors are getting hot as shit. It's like, fuck, I'm ditching these things
Yeah,
quickly.
take them off.
And I could hear a change in the engine, from the oil, whatnot, just getting thinner, but also helped me. It's like, get some of that wind coming back. Granted,
Yeah,
it was
correct.
100 something degrees. It still ain't that cool, but anything will help.
Correct. Temperature control, of my body temp is definitely one of the things that I try to watch. That when I get too hot or too cold, yeah, I just start to get tired. And so it's nice to have a nice way to cool off while you're going down the road.
True. I mean, and taking care of yourself and knowing your body and knowing yourself, especially when like you say, when you're pushing miles like you are, you gotta know your body, know when it's time to take a break or and whatnot.
Yeah, understood. It's same thing everybody else says. It's one thing to be tired, but once you're sleepy, you got to get off that bike.
Yeah,
Um,
Ken Andrews said that well. You got to know the difference between being sleepy and being tired.
yeah, correct. And look, there's sometimes that I don't get it right. Where it's like, yeah, I'm not sleepy, and then like 5 minutes down the road, I'm nodding, and I'm like, oh shit. Um, so it definitely happens to me as well, but I'm definitely a lot more conscious of it.
Yeah,
So typically I've done well recognizing it and go ahead and stop, and even if it's just for a few hours or an hour for that matter, just having that rest for a minute to get off the bike and refocus. Especially at night for me, my vision sucks at night, and if I'm on dark roads, then I'm okay because it's more headlights coming at me. So once lights start coming at me, man, I can't see. I slow way down. So it's like at that point, it's like, dude, you're getting tired. You can't see. You're going 55 miles an hour. Just stop for a few hours because you're not gaining anything. You're just kind of spinning your wheels and making yourself more tired. And you're going to jip yourself on rests that would then just you would be recuperated from, Um, so like I said, I try to ride early in the morning till about 10 o'clock at night, and then I shut down for a few hours, and then I'll do it back over again. For some reason in the morning when it's dark, as long as I've slept, I'm fine. It doesn't bother me. But at that, after 12, 16 hours in the saddle, hitting that later night part, man, it's just I can't see anything.
Fatigue, man. Body's getting tired. I can understand it. That's one thing I like at night. I have some real like light blue tinted safety glasses,
Yeah.
and I love them at night because it takes the glare out of the headlights.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, I have anti-glare and everything on all my glasses. I wear prescriptions, so whether my clears or my sunglasses, but
Yeah,
and they all have reflective coatings on them and things like that. It's like I said, I think it's a combination of two things. A,
yeah,
I see my eyes aren't good, and then B, I'm fatigued, which is just adding to it. So it's
yeah.
intensifying it. So once that happens, I know it's time to kind of I need to get some rest.
So, what do you think is one of a big perk or something really stands out from all your adventures last year?
So, I think the trifecta is probably my greatest feat that I think, even more so than the Hoka Hey. And I love the Hoka Hey, and it was a great challenge. I am not happy with the way I performed in it. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, if you want to know the truth. So, like, I couldn't figure if I wanted to race or if I wanted to just ride and whatnot. So I kept like flip flopping. I would hook up with someone and then I'd ride with them, and then we'd split off, and then I'd start picking it up again, but then I'd run into somebody else and I stayed with them, so I wouldn't change my experience by any means. Um, Next time I ride, it's just going to be a little bit, I'm going to ride it a different way. Um, but that trifecta is probably the most meaningful ride that I did last year, just because it's a ride that I had failed 2 times prior. So to really overcome that obstacle of, being able to complete something like that was, y- you know, pretty exhilarating, for me. I was
Well, I could
pretty
imagine.
pumped, and because at that point, like, I didn't talk much about like Ken Andrews or Hop or any of those guys, but like these are guys that like I've followed for years on Facebook. You know what I mean? Longer than they realized that I was even learning from them. You know what I mean? Like the way we have technology, the access to technology we have, like you can learn so much from people without ever knowing them at this point.
It's a good point.
So like for those guys to congratulate me on things, man, it just hits me a different way. Like, these are guys that I've looked up to for a long time. And, when they tell you congratulations or welcome to the short list, or, hop in, both of them put, posts out for congratulating Riot and so it's like, man, coming from those guys, it's just something special, so, um, I'm very blessed and grateful for, like I said, the group of people that I've started riding with, and of course, Mile Monsters and the charity that I ride for. It's definitely changing my life for the better.
That's awesome. So, what's your biggest things you look for this year?
This year is going to be the IBR for sure. So um, I'm a little, uh, I don't know the right word to say, but nervous really isn't the right word. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see how I really compete and compare to some of these guys that are, they're veterans, and their setups are their way. They're already, like Ben Hurst for that matter. During Hops
Oh,
Rally, like dude,
yeah.
this dude's a beast. Like I I feel like I move pretty quick, right? And I don't spend a lot of time at stops. But like this dude literally, like, I'm off my bike taking a picture. He literally like pulls up, flips his tour pack open, snaps a picture back on his bike in like 4 seconds. I'm like, and he's riding down the road. I'm like, man, he's fast. So definitely trying to fine tune that. So it's a whole nother world. So like we gotta prep for our bikes for Hoka Hey and things like that, and figure out what setup worked for you the best. And I just went pretty simple with a clipboard. And then Riot showed me how he had his mounted. So I ended up switching mine to the same way he had his mounted, just because I liked the idea of when you're not using it, you can push it up out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
which was really nice. So that was nice. And, so now it's trying to figure out how do I want my bike for the IBR. And, that's going
Fine
to
tuning.
be a little trick for me, because there's not a whole lot of information that you get, like I've followed them, but I've never like followed them. So, that's going to be that one's going to be a challenge for me, I think.
I remember following the last one. You seen there's like all these people in the Midwest and down south, and then there's one tracker was up in the Northwest Territories. And after had Big Ben on here, got to talk to him, and of course that was him. And somebody commented, "Oh, that's probably fucking Ben. There's probably some hellacious points up there." And
Yeah.
sure as shit, he was way the fuck up there. It's like, holy crap!
Yeah, he's
There ain't nobody else up there, but it's like Jesus.
yeah, so I'm excited, so I did really, this is my first year. Well, 24 was my first year that I participated in Alder. I ended up winning 4 months, and then I won overall for the year. So um, that was super awesome. So like that's pretty much as that I've ever done in the scavenger hunt field. But I love it. Like that's definitely something I'll continue doing. Come March, I'm going to get back into it. I could claim some points already, but um, I was just going to wait till I really start playing, to um, start claiming points. But not that I would have a lot anyways. It's just a few states that I've been in so far this year.
I've thought about trying it, but I don't understand the scoring into points.
So it took me a minute to figure it out, and not so much like I couldn't understand it. It was, so you're supposed to post your points for the same day, that day, or the next morning or whatever. You know what I mean? So I would always do whatever POIs I hit, and then if I did SS1K, then I would post that and collect my 2 points. But I had 5 other days of riding still to do. So what I learned after I didn't post this way a few times is I held all my miles points, because if I do a 5,005, well, that's now 16 points. If I list the 1K every day, well, then I'm only going to end up with 10 points. You know what I mean? So, like, you got to kind of pay attention to some of that stuff, and what you want to claim to get the most points. Because like I did the lap around Texas Gold, and a ride around's worth 10 points, but I did a 4,004, which was, again, it's only 1 point, but that's 11 points. So it's like, well, I had claimed the 4,004 rather than the ride around, because you get more points that way. So you got to kind of, last year's point system, I think the categories were a lot easier than they are this year. This year's a little bit more riding. Not that you don't do a lot of riding the other ways. It's more like scenic routes and things like that this year.
Mm-hmm.
That we had that last year, but I want to say that like you can get 2 points for scenic routes this year, and Tour of Honor doesn't start till April. You can't start claiming those points for. Um, but no, you should try it, man. Just do it and post, and don't worry if you post incorrect, someone will let you know for pretty quick.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Listen, you idiot. My
especially
bad.
especially this early in the year. It's everybody's still really tight. And but like I said, I think Iceman's going to crush it this year. Doing his
Yeah,
MFA.
he's off to a hell of a start, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's out there killing it, and um,
Yeah, the quest for
and
100K on one bike.
yeah, I don't know if I ever finished saying what I was saying. That's what I told him last year. When we were together in December, and I was like, look, my biggest regret is that I didn't start earlier in the year. That that I waited or just kind of just rode a few thousand miles January, February, because even if I did 5,000 miles each month, you know, that would have made it so much easier for me at the end of the year, um, because once the holidays come, kids are out of school and things are just crazy. And I know his, Chase has obviously grown, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But,
Right.
um, it's it still makes it easy because, like I said, when December came, I felt like I was never going to get there. Like me and Riot were talking like every day, and I'm like, dude, like I'm 2,800 miles away, and I feel like I can't get there. Like it's like I'm never gonna get there. And at that point, I was trying to get up in the morning before work and ride 300 to 500 miles, and it just wasn't working out for me. So that's when I started really picking out some challenges that I wanted to complete and, went after it. So, but yeah, last year, man, I still haven't even found the right words, to be honest with you, of like last year and what it really meant to me and all of that. Man, there's just so many things that happened throughout the year and so many, you know, new friendships that I made and experiences that I had that are just like it's hard to pick just one thing or you, I mean I guess the easiest way to describe it is it was just a life-changing epic venture, adventure. It's
100,000 miles of smiles.
yeah, for sure. And it truly was the majority of smiles. I'm not one that minds like riding in rain, so like it could be raining its ass off, and I'll ride through it. Like I enjoy it for some reason, and um, so there's very
And I,
little.
I think it's one thing to get caught in the rain, but God, I hate starting a ride off in the rain.
It does
Okay,
suck to
don't.
start off riding in the rain, but like
Yeah.
I would rather it rain than like spit on me all day. You know what I mean? Like I can't stand that little drizzle type rain. Like I would rather it just rain. Like just go
Make
ahead and
up your
rain
mind.
with
Yeah.
rain. You know. My biggest thing is cold, and everybody always gives me shit because like, man, you grew up in Boston, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't lived in Boston in over 20 years, so it's like, you know, I've lived in Mississippi longer than I've lived in Boston. So, um, it's a different type of cold to me. And, once I'm cold, I'm cold. I'm not going to warm back up until I'm off the bike.
Yeah. Being cold sucks.
It sucks, and, yeah, I'm not a big fan of heated like pant liners. I mean, I have them and I'll wear them if I need to. And honestly, I wear them mainly because I want to run my socks and my controller's built into my liners. So, um, I'll wear them, but I just don't, being a shorter rider, like adding another layer of clothes under my climb pants, I end up losing reach. So I'm up on my tippy toes. I'm not comfortable. I don't like the balance I have, when I'm stopping and things like that. So um, I try not to wear them if possible. So riding in some of the colder temps, it gets cold pretty quick. Um,
Yeah. I think for me, it's like when my hands get cold or my feet. Once your feet, for me, it's like once my feet start getting cold and or
yeah, it
my hands really,
sucks.
it's like that'll fuck just kill it. Just gets me in the mood. It's like, fuck.
Well, and the hands are tough because, like, I mean, your toes are tough too, but like, I hate riding with big, bulky gloves.
Yeah.
Just I like to wear my like summer gloves that it's just basically like a webbed glove. It's like they're super breathable and lightweight. And then I'll wear some latex gloves underneath that to try to knock some of the bite out. Which Iceman's the one that's taught me that. However, Hop is who told him about it. And it definitely works. Like I wear those gloves and it's 40 degrees outside. But once you drop into the 30s, man, I have to put my heated gloves on. And um,
I had a pair I loved. They were Olympia. I had them like a week. I think it was my Monster 100 ride coming getting close to Portland, Oregon, I go to turn on my phone to get my maps because I wasn't super familiar with where I wanted to exit. I wanted for 205 and take my glove off, stick it down my crotch, my pants, and
Yeah.
get Google up. And I grab my glove and I stick my hand about right in my face, go to put my glove on, and the wind catches it. Phew, there goes that glove at about 80
Yeah.
miles an hour down 84. I'm like, well, fuck. So much for that one.
Yeah.
I didn't even have them that long. God, they were so nice and that perfect thickness, like you're saying. They weren't overly heavy on your hands, but man, they sure kept your hands warm. And of
Yeah.
course, the company's out of business now. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. I definitely like to feel my grips with my hands, and with those big bulky gloves, I just can't, you know, I just, I don't feel comfortable in them, so it's me.
Yeah,
But I mean, a lot of people you talk to are the same way, they don't like those big bulky gloves, but
yeah.
there's a
No, I
time and
agree.
place, because like the coldest I rode last year was 8 degrees in Gallup, New
Ooh.
Mexico. And like, I didn't mean to do that. It was not in the cards that I was trying to hit this way, but I was short on time, because I wanted to. So when I got the memory maker, I knew where I wanted to bring it. I knew I had wanted to go to Mexico, and I didn't have to be in Mexico long. I wanted to cross the border, ride for an hour or so, and I didn't care if I jumped back out. So that's what I did, and then continued up to Loco. So on the way home, because in up in Northern California, going through the mountains, it started to snow. So it slowed me down a little bit, and I didn't get there when I wanted to. Like I wanted to go there, meet him, and then turn back out and burn out. Well, I didn't end up meeting him. I had Bradley figure out where he was going to be, and he's like, "Oh, we're at the bar and whatever." So Bradley met me, and we went in and met them. So we ended up spending the night. So that next day, I was short on time to get home. I had 2 days to get home, and so I was going down 5, and Loco texted me. He's like, "Dude, you should take 40. Weather looks good. Like, just run the 40." So that's what I did, and temps looks good when I was in Flagstaff. So I continued on, and man, it got so cold so quick. Like literally within an hour, it was like a 30-degree drop, and I was freezing my ass off. And I was like,
Fuck.
I just had to stop. Hindsight's 2020, because it was high 20s at that point. Had I looked at the temps the next morning, I probably would have continued on to Albuquerque, because I was, you're only about an hour or two, probably 2 hours outside Albuquerque, I think maybe. I could be wrong on that, but um, it's so much warmer. So I had that next morning at 8 degrees for
That's brutal.
couple hours, and it sucks. It was horrible. The only good thing was I slept in that day because I was so cold. I cranked the heat up in the hotel room, and I didn't want to get out of bed that next morning, and it was daylight. So that was the only benefit there, is I can deal with the cold a little bit better when the sun's out, whether it's the sun shining on me or not, as long as it's daylight. But once it starts to get dark and cold, it sucks.
Yeah, I agree. Especially cold and damp.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it rained, like it did not stop raining that whole time I was up at Locos. Like it rained every day, all day. You know, not that I was there long. I was there for a day and a half, but the whole way up and the whole way down, it rained on me all the way down the Oregon coast for the most part. So it was
Welcome to
it
the
was
Pacific
miserable.
Northwest. Call that liquid sunshine.
Yeah, yeah. So that was awesome. I'm glad I was able to give it to him, and like I said, what he accomplished this year is amazing. So many monsters have done so many awesome things. It's I'm glad to watch the new people taking over and doing it, and like I said, Iceman's been kicking ass out there, and Rolo and Star are it's
Yeah.
definitely been amazing to watch, especially Star, because her weather has not been conducive to riding at all.
No. Been following along that too. It's like, holy crap. I mean, it's one thing, to set forth that commitment. I don't care where you live. You're
Yeah,
gonna ride every
it's
day.
hard
That's
because
huge.
like,
And then yeah,
well,
you
that's
throw
what I
in
tell people.
weather.
Like, I can go out and crush 1,000 miles pretty easily without a whole lot of effort, right? So that's like if you're riding 200 miles a day, to do that every day for 5 days, it's easy, but try to do that for 365 days, or Loco's case 366. I can take a break when I want. Like if I don't feel like riding because the weather sucks or I just don't feel like it, I don't have to ride as they did. I could make it
Yeah.
happen. That's
Yep.
what I'm trying to get at is, you know, they have to ride every day. I didn't. I could ride on the weekend and
Yeah.
still accomplish my goal for the week.
True. Yeah. It's one hell of a commitment. I'll give him that. I couldn't do it.
You know, Even like the other day, it was beautiful here. I mean, I was like, why don't you go ride? I was like, I just don't feel like it. Like it's just it. I've enjoyed this break, and so it's been nice getting to sit back and watch.
Spectate.
Correct, correct.
I think you earned it, man.
It's nice. So, but I'm starting to get the itch to jump back in Alder. So that's going to be happening here pretty soon. We're only a few weeks away. Once I'll go to the IBA conference here in March. So once that happens, my riding will begin.
Yeah, I'm ready for March and let Mother Nature kind of go away and let springtime and some little better weather come around. I'm ready to get going.
Yeah, I mean, we just had a beautiful week. It was up in the 70s pretty much every day, and today it got a little cold. It's been in the 40s today. Middle of the week, it's like 20 degrees. It's like, come on, man. We're like almost springtime, and it's 20 degrees outside around here. Like, you know, so it's just part of
Yeah.
it, unfortunately, and it's just hit or miss where we live, and it's you could have a great week, and then it'd be cold the next. So. Um, Hopefully,
Yeah.
Once March comes, the weather will warm up and all that good stuff. Not that I'm afraid to ride in the cold by any means. I have no reason to right now. If I really don't have a goal this year other than competing in those events that I had talked about earlier. But I'll probably try to figure out some type of a goal that I wanna hit. But I haven't put a whole lot of thought in that quite just yet.
Hey, you got time for
Yeah,
sure.
and like even if I don't have a goal this year, so be it. I really 24 was just an unbelievable year, right? It's kind of every dream that I had came true. With the last one being the invitation to the IBR. That was like the last thing on my list at that point. Never did I think all these things would happen in one year, but it was
Yeah.
to win Alder because I knew that was already a short list of people, past winners that so far participate. There's only three of us that have ever won it that are playing this year so far. And then finish a Hoka Hey, which I did, and then some of those hard IBA rides that I was talking about before, which I completed those, and now I got the invitation to the IBR. So it's like, man, that was everything that
Pretty
I had
awesome.
picked out. Yeah, everything that I had picked out for, pretty much the next 3 years or so. Like, hey, this is where I want to get to. That I was able to do it, and really all of the last few months, like I let up because it gets to a point where like I had separated so far from the pack that like people weren't even competing with me anymore because they were like, it's no one's catching them. I think Hallquest was Jeff Hallquest, who's an awesome rider. Um, I think he was at like 550 points and I was at 830. At the time, I think I finished at like 870. So like it kind of got boring at the end, but I didn't want to just give up and not quit, but I wouldn't say. Um, but I just wanted to finish the year out strong, so I stayed with it, and but I stopped pulling POIs. It was all like mileage points, so like the trifecta, and then another BBG I had done, and a couple 3003s and things like that. Is more what I was reporting my points on. So
Yeah. Not giving up. I mean, you got to the end, might as well see it through to the end when you put forth, that much time and effort and
Well, yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
literally,
really,
your
it
time.
becomes it like for me at least, like it took over. Like I don't want to say an addiction because it's not an addiction, but it's like man, I just kept chasing it because it's just something that I was doing, and I guess that's my competitive nature. Yeah. When I moved to Mississippi, I used to play hockey, so uh, unfortunately in Mississippi we don't have a whole lot of ice down here, so I stopped skating and. So I really haven't had a sport that I played or um, things like that. And, I have four kids, three girls and a boy. So all my girls do like gymnastics or cheerleading or things like that. So, like, at up until recently, I didn't have any baseball or anything like that I was a part of. Even though I wasn't playing, I would just be a coach or a helper or whatever, but.
Oh yeah.
So once I started competing in those type things, man, it just like brought me back to my high school days of competing, and I loved it. So um, I couldn't believe that I did as well as I did. And like I said, it took a minute to figure it out, but it doesn't take that long. Once you start posting and kind of following it, it kind of falls into place pretty quickly. And you know, so we'll see how I do this year. But like I said, I think Iceman will pretty much kill it out there. He should win. Hopefully, he'll win the Reaver Road Warrior Championship this year as well. I had won
Yeah,
it
he's
last
pushing the
year.
numbers, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's killing it. It's nice to see, and um, me and Riot and this other guy Glenn were the top three. So when it was like me and Riot as 1 and 2, like I really wasn't trying to jump Riot. I didn't really care, But once Riot kind of fell into third and Glenn jumped into second, I was like, man, there ain't no way I'm letting this guy win. Like, if he's gonna win, he's gonna have to fight me for it. Like, I want to take this home for the monsters and finish this out. So I'd seen him. I'd stopped riding after Loco's ride. I told my wife I'm done for the year, and because I knew at that point, like she was stressed to the max, and like I said, my year had affected her a lot more than I ever had realized. Even though she had voiced it to me a couple times, it's just I wasn't hearing it. It was towards the end, and I was too close, and I wasn't gonna stop. Um, so that's why I said my balance is what I need to try to figure out, better of what I need to work on, but. Um, I had seen right before Christmas, he had been riding and he was riding about 600 miles a day and he was posting his points every day. Well, then it got Christmas hit and we're at like the 28th or so. Um, and he hasn't posted any points. And I know this guy's riding because Riot talks to him. So like Riot's like, man, he's running for you. So I knew he was holding his points. Which is fine. Like, there's no rules say you have to dump your miles every day. I only
Hmm.
dump my miles every day typically because my Reaver will crash or my phone will die, and then I'll lose my miles at that point. So I would dump them every night. But so I knew he was out riding, and I was like, man, if he continues and he rides every single day, he'll jump me. So that's when I went out and set out to do that trifecta because I knew if I put down 4,500 miles, there was no way he'd catch me. Even if he was riding 1,000 miles a day, he wasn't going to catch me at that point. So, that's what I did and finished the year on the 30th. And that was not the best conversation with my wife when I told her I was going back out on the road for a couple of days, but I assured her I would be back for New Year's. So uh, you know, made it home in time. And, I've kept my word so far that I wasn't going to ride till March. So that's it's part of my break I'm taking right now.
Well, I mean, and family's important, the family life. Like I said, when you got young kids and everything at home, having that balance and the old saying, happy wife is a happy life. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
for
understand,
sure. For sure. She just wasn't getting a break. We don't have a whole lot of help here. So, um, if I'm gone, it's all on her. So like she just didn't get a break. So I anticipate she'll have plenty of breaks this year and trips with her friends and whatnot. So which she deserves. I mean, she was a rock star and she does. I mean, she makes taking care of the kids look so easy to me at least. And she's just a natural. So um,
My wife was the same way. I've
yeah,
put a lot of hours in when we had kids very young, and I worked my butt off, and my wife kept our house going.
yeah, it's I'd be lost without her. So I'm definitely blessed and you know but I'm glad I was able to get my goal and didn't cause too much trouble in the process. For me to try to rectify on the back end of things. But um,
No, man, this was one
and,
epic
and now that
adventure.
I've done it, like this was all new to me, so to speak. It's only been a few years of really hard long distance riding. So um, like
Yeah,
I
what are you
said,
gonna do next up this? I mean,
I
shit.
don't know. We'll see. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to attempt a Hell Week. I just don't think I'm there yet. So it's I don't want to set myself up for failure, so to speak. But um, maybe the Quattro's in the cards for this year. We'll see. If we can do that one. But if I could be a finisher in the IBR, it would be great. I guess the biggest goal would be to make the podium, but I don't think that's going to happen if you want to know the truth. I mean, I think I'll finish it, but of course, there's so many things that are unforeseen when you're in a competition like that. Um, Flat tire, pothole, crack a rim, animal
Yeah,
strikes or whatnot. Things can change in a hurry. So, um, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I don't think any year will compete with 24 um, the same way. And like I said, it's just it was so meaningful to me, and I think I saw Bradley. I want to say like me and Bradley saw each other like 8 times last year. Like that's wild. Like he lives in Oregon and I live in Mississippi. Like we're across the country from each other, and we're crossing paths. So I'm
he's a
excited.
good dude,
We'll
man. I
see
love
what
that
the
guy.
future holds. Yeah, it's and when I say that, like I truly believe it that God put us in those two places at the same time for a reason. You know what I mean? Like he's the one that told me about long distance riding. I thought the dude was completely nuts. Then he showed up at the rendezvous, and it was like
Especially when you look at him and like,
he's
what?
so
And just
yeah, and
his
he's
demeanor
awesome.
and
And he's just the
yeah.
he's got one of the biggest hearts, and he's always the life of the party, which is great because I'm like I said before, like I'm the quiet one typically. I do open up once I get to know people, but I'm just not the guy that just walks up to a group of people and starts like shooting the shit like Riot for that matter. Like, gee, you don't even have to talk when you're around Riot. He'll just tell stories the whole time. And it's awesome because a lot of the stories are funny. Or I'm like, dude,
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're you're an idiot, like But he's awesome, and he really helped me so much this year. Um, Before the Hoka Hey, and even just the little confidence builders, like him telling me, like, dude, you're ready. Like, don't stop stressing. Like, you do this all the time. Like, the only difference is the directions. Like, don't worry about it. But like I told you, you just get in your head and you make things worse on yourself. Something I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the same way. I mean, obviously, I'm an outsider looking in, and I have aspirations of signing up for it. My goal right now is 28 after I talked with my wife again because she said there's no way in hell I was doing it for next year. But
Yeah.
and that's my biggest fear and phobia is just trying to understand the navigation part.
So once you figure it out, it's really not that hard. It did take me a minute to to figure it out because I didn't. It would get confusing, right? So like you would have. I'm just gonna make stuff up. Like it'll say be on Smith Street for greater than or less than 5 miles or whatever. But like on the subject line, it would be like Smith Street, First Street, Third Street. I didn't understand what that all meant. So like a couple times, like I would see one of those roads and I would go off on it. Well, that's not what it's telling me to do. All that is you go with the first thing it says. So like if it's Smith Street's your first thing in the subject line, well, you stay on that until the end or your next turn comes. And I
Yeah.
didn't know. So like I made a couple costly errors, right? Or, pretty early on. Um, the day it was day one, it was later in the day, but coming back out of the keys, I went over the regular, bridge, and I was supposed to veer off onto like another bridge. It was a toll bridge that we had to go across. So that took me a couple hours to figure out, which was a pain in the ass. But
Yeah, Shell was talking about that because I was picking her brain when she got down here from Alaska. We're talking about she was some of the mapping scenarios and trying to explain stuff, and it's fun. Much like yourself, you get to talk individuals are experienced with it and pick their brain, and they're all you guys are great about explaining stuff and trying to help the next people in line.
yeah, so that was the one thing I did not practice were the directions. I really wanted to be able to figure them out on my own and do it on the fly. Like I didn't want to like I didn't ask a whole lot of questions about the Hoka Hey. I didn't want to know every aspect of it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be surprised and figure things out and all of that. So like my biggest concern, when I first signed up for it was the sleeping outside because it's just that was a really new thing to me. But once I started doing it, man, I like I said, I love it now. It's just kind of a part of the way I travel, and um, as long as I'm not participating in the Hoka Hey, if I feel like getting a room, then I just get a room. If I don't, then I just sleep outside. I mean, of course, during the
It's like
Hoka
Frank
Hey,
says,
you
going
can't
straight
sleep
sometimes
outside.
meant turning left.
Yeah, correct. And for the most part, the directions are pretty accurate. There were a couple mistakes, that were confusing, but like me and Frank, we went like 60 miles one night out of the way. I think um, we were somewhere in Arizona. I forget exactly where we were, but um, man, it was brutal. Because it was just like, shit, we need to get back to where we are so we don't forget. So we went all the way back that night, and then we actually ended up splitting up that night. He had gotten tired, and I wanted to keep going, which I probably should have stopped myself that night because I ended up just slowing my speed down because I was getting tired, but I didn't want to stop because I felt like I was so far behind. So like that's what I was saying. Like sometimes you get so tired, like you're not riding the way you normally would ride, so you're really not gaining what you think you're gaining because you're slowing your speed way down. Or I couldn't maintain my speed, and those are all signs to me when I start doing that I need to stop and take a break. If I can't maintain my speed, um, then I'm just fluctuating too much. I always fluctuate a little bit, but um, if it's more than a few miles an hour, then I'm probably tired and I need a rest. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it and that one was confusing on the directions. Like I want to say it said take a right on a road, and you needed to take a left. Like that was the only way to go. So um, we ended up figuring it out and went back. But that, like I said, it's really not. It was pretty much spot on for the most part. You just have to. I just reset my trip. So when I wouldn't remember to do that is when it got tricky. Especially on some of the longer ones, because like everything's greater than or less than. There's very few equals, and I want to say even when there was an equal, most of those were wrong. Like there was one that said it was like 7 miles, and I want to say it was like 16 miles or something. It was an equal sign. So some of that they may do on purpose. I don't know. Like it may just be, hey, we're trying to trick you or this or that, or you need to think and figure it out. But for the most part, it was pretty accurate. So
And you made it, so
I
that's
think you do fine with it.
yeah.
You know, anybody, like
I
I
want to
said,
try
anybody that
just see
rides
if I
like
can make
this,
it.
yeah, yeah. As long as you don't have any equipment failures, things like that, you know, you'll make it. You know, I'm sure. I'm sure you will. You know, it's like I said, I worked it up so much in my head that it was going to be this big horrible, not horrible experience, but it was gonna be an amazing experience, but it was gonna be hell to get through it, and that's not the experience that I had. You know, I didn't have any like monumental life changing experience from riding it. It's pretty much how I rode all year. So, you know, it tells you where to go. So as long as you're taking your time and reading those directions and not losing your place, because that's one of the things that did get difficult, especially at night. You know, I would have like a little book light, and then I have a little light on my helmet that I had velcroed to it. But because I had them all in like waterproof sleeves, like the light would like kind of reflect, and it was hard to read at times. So I was
Oh
using
yeah.
like a dry erase pen to cross them out, and then when I needed to flip my sheet or whatever, I would clean it back off. But you'd forget to do one, and then like you look down real quick, and you're looking at the wrong line, so you do something incorrect, you know. Um, so it really wasn't that difficult for me. Well, the riding wasn't that difficult for me, and it might have been the route that we went on. You know, it's kind of once you get up into Canada, Alaska area, there's not a whole lot of roads to be on. You know, it's kind of like you're going here to here to here, and it was long stretches, so it was like 600 miles. So I do think previous years' routes were probably more challenging than what my year was. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna ride it in 26, and we'll see how it goes. So um, I'm gonna focus more on me, and I'm not gonna leave anybody stranded by any means, but um, I'll probably do more of a solo riding on that one, and try to see where I can put myself. So
Challenge yourself.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Nice. That'll be fun. It'll be
Yeah, it's
fun to
gonna be
follow,
awesome,
like
and
this
I
year,
love
especially with
seeing
like Hopper and K Solo, what they were doing, their lives every day was pretty damn awesome following that too.
yeah. It's awesome seeing all the monsters that have joined, and I want to say it's mostly women that just joined, which is even better. Like the girls we ride with, man, they can they ride better than most of the guys. They're some badass riders for sure.
100%. Yeah, I mean the numbers of monsters and it grows the last couple of years. It's really cool to see it.
Yeah, it's really cool. So like I said, that organization is definitely changing my life, and I'm glad I found them, and I'm glad I stepped out of the box and reached out to Riot, and going to meet them that day, and whatnot. Because, like I said, I probably would have just been that guy over in the corner that's quiet. He comes to stuff and participates, but doesn't talk to anybody, Um, and like I said, a lot of it was just out of fear because I had followed these guys for so long. So like, it, I don't want to say like it's kind of like being starstruck in a sense, like these were people that I looked up to and watched online and
Oh, yeah, I
followed.
get it.
So like now that I'm getting closer to them, it's like no way. Like what? Like I was kind of speechless, or I was so intrigued when I would be around them of what they were saying that I was more trying to absorb it all and because man, they just have so much knowledge. They've been doing it for so long and at the level that they've been doing it at too. So like uh, that's one of the biggest things that has helped me is just really listening to a lot of those guys talk and taking their advice of how to better myself. So, we'll
Even
continue
just like I said
on and
earlier, not
grow.
not being afraid to just talk to them and ask questions because they're like you were talking earlier, I mean, they're everybody in the community is so great about explaining stuff, and I'm in a way like you are. It's like you just got to, come out of your shell and not be afraid to spark a conversation about something because everybody's going to be great about explaining and, giving you advice and helping how they can.
Yeah, correct. So I'm glad I did that. It definitely opened the door for me. Um, and now I'm getting more and more involved. And Riot made me a mega monster this year for since after my 24 years. So super pumped about that. And
Awesome, man.
so
Congrats.
definitely uh, want to keep growing and spreading more awareness and educating and things like that. So y'all will see plenty of me here in the near future.
Heck yeah, it'll be awesome, man. And it's fun to follow along all these adventures, even, if some of us can't get out, as much as we like, but it's awesome to see, you know, like you said, with the world of social media now, a lot of people you can live vicariously and follow along and see what's going on.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really is awesome, because like this is how people probably felt watching me and Riot last year and Loco, it's like, man, that's so cool what they're doing. And like now that I've done it and completed, and like I said, like last year felt like it took so long, but now sitting here, it's like, man, I can't believe it's over. Like that went so quick. Uh, but yeah, it's been awesome to watch them out there killing it. I'm really enjoying it, and so keep it up, and y'all keep rocking. You guys kicking ass
Heck yeah, it's been fun to watch. It's fun to watch the adventures go and keep going and going.
for sure.
For sure, man. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out, man. Shit, we've been going damn near almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Time
Thanks for
flies, you're
having
having
me.
fun.
I know, I know. I mean, I can sit here and talk all night. Like and that was the other reason I was like, I didn't want to. I didn't want to kill my wife sitting in the bedroom, her next to me, of me talking motorcycles the whole time. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to the new house, and uh, they let me move some. For my inspector's really cool, so we're about to pull our CO next week, and I'm like, hey, you care if I move some stuff in my office? So I put my desk and stuff in here, and so I got a little setup going on. So it worked out nice. Says my kids will jump all over me the whole time, and
It's all
I mean,
good, man.
it's hard for me to focus as it is. I'm super ADHD, and I have a million thoughts going through my head at all times. So I'll be talking about one thing and I'll forget. So add them to the mix, and it's like, oh, it'll be a shit show. So. Um,
Not a problem, man. But no, I greatly appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for taking time out of like I said, you're coming back, so you're really focusing on family time and whatnot. So I appreciate the time you come and hang out tonight and sharing some of the adventures and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll get up to ride my Monsters Over Mountains one day. This year is going to be out because I think you're doing it in June this year, if I recall correctly.
July,
July, yeah. I think it's too
yeah.
close to the IBR, for me to realistically probably make it up there. Um, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be a surprise rider.
Always welcome, man. But no, thank
Understood.
like again, thank you, man. It was a lot of fun, and it's I enjoy doing this. It's this ain't a job, this ain't a
Yeah,
thing. This
no,
is
it's
just me
awesome.
having fun in my hobby. So
Like I was saying, all these podcasts, it's you never know who's out there watching and learning or whatnot, and so anything I can do to pass on what's been taught to me, I try to do it. I don't want to necessarily hand you everything. You do need to figure out some stuff yourself, but
oh yeah, for sure.
um, anything I do to help, I want to help. Because it just takes the fun out of it. Because like when people ask me about the Hoka Hey, like what was your favorite part? My favorite part of the Hoka Hey was the anticipation, like from the very start, from the time I first applied to the starting line. That period there was most exciting to me because it was the unknown. Everything was unknown. It was the intense anticipation. It was setting up your bikes and trying to figure out all of these things. So like that's what I enjoyed the most. Was that, and then once it started, like I said, all the other nerves went away, and it was just it was a normal ride. Other than the directions, everything else was typically
Just
how
laying
I
down miles.
yeah just putting them down. So and we got to see some amazing sights and great roads, and so I'm excited to do it again. I do hope 26 is a little bit more challenging or a little bit more technical than 24 was.
Time will tell.
Yeah, so I'm excited for it. So we'll see. But yeah, thank you for
Heck
having
yeah.
me. I look
Absolutely,
forward to
man.
doing it again one day in the future, and
Oh, heck yeah.
hopefully I'll get up your way to ride soon.
Hey, yeah. You get up Northwest sometime, man. Get a hold of me, or you pass through. You want a place to stay? We're empty nesters, man. We got open bedrooms, and I love to barbecue.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds
Right on,
good.
buddy. Way. Thanks
I
everybody
appreciate it.
for hanging out tonight. Kicking down Milepost 146. Next week we got the Salty Badger coming to hang out for 147. So we'll catch you guys next week. Till then, ride safe, have fun.
I appreciate it. Good night, guys.